like to call the Board of Works meeting to order. Let's see here. First of all, let's have roll call.
Jim Collier-Stepp, Bill Carbach.
Here.
Ted Meyer.
Here, and...
You have to point them for me.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, so let's make that the very first thing. First of all, the minutes were emailed to Bill and I. Bill, did you have a chance to look at those minutes?
Yes, I did.
And
I'll approve as emailed.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same. Okay, next thing up, we could not replace Cam as a council member this evening because that's an elected position. But as a Board of Works member, we can replace him because that's an appointed member.
Yeah,
I figured you'd jump in.
Well, the only question I have is what was Cam's effective date? When, do we know?
For council?
Pay for the council?
No, when does his leave?
July 1st.
Okay, well then technically he's still...
Well, since this is just an appointed, we thought that would be okay, because really he's just sitting on the board as a council member. But that's up to you. I mean, because we discussed this earlier too today.
I figured Tim would jump in.
Neither one of us get paid for that position.
Yeah,
Right.
it's not
It's not, that's not the issue. It's just that if he was appointed, he's asked for a leave effective as of a certain
July
date,
1.
As a
which
councilman.
we approved.
Yeah.
As a councilman, yeah. And he
Which
sits
is
on this
July
board.
1.
Was the leave request for both council and Board of Works?
It's
I don't-
as his elected official, as his district, what is it for?
Okay.
Because I
If
thought
you would
about
like
that
for me
too,
just to
Jim.
sit in for
I-
discussion and not have a vote, I would be happy to do that. Just to be safe, it's not that, because
I don't think there's
if,
anything that's going to be that.
yeah, if for some reason we would take action where...
from voting
Yeah.
and just...
I think that would be better, and then come the July 5th meeting, and then there's no issue.
Then I need to change his date. Here.
Should I make that a matter of record tonight?
You can, because I'll just go ahead and change it.
Okay, well, Craig has accepted the appointment. We'll change the date on this to July 1st, and I'd like to make this a matter of record.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. So there, you're almost there. First thing up, Bill Slack from AECom. I think he's here to maybe finalize some payments for Fleming and
We're getting closer.
talk about getting the sewer project wrapped up here.
We're getting closer,
Yeah.
yes. We have two change orders to get. We've discussed a couple times over the last 2 months, I guess, to get it authorized for signature. The first would be change order number 11. And this is dealing with the erosion mat seeding and grading from RFP 1 and RFP 2 that we had held off authorizing previously. These came in, we got the documentation that we needed. The total for change order 11 is $9,265, and that's actually down from where they had originally estimated it at $14,000. So we saved $4,735 by having them go back and check their math and put a sharper pencil to the whole thing. Otherwise, I mean, the work was already pre-authorized. It's just the quantities and stuff were not kind of being matching the cross-check that we did with what they should have been. So we feel these are good and ask for a recommendation, or our recommendation is that this gets approved and approved change order of the contract.
So moved. I'll make a motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the same. Thank you.
And the second change order number 12, there's a, behind the Macklin's building, there's a steep section of bank there that was kind of exposed during the project, and it was actually, I think Berlin suggested that they do this, and it's a good idea, and they did this. They put some riprap on there to keep it from eroding and everything from falling and washing out. And that's change order 12, and that's $1,114.80. And we're based on the fact that it was as requested, and they did the work, and we'll recommend that approval of that for payment as well.
How many tons are on that? You know?
I don't remember, I think like 30 tons. Might have been more than that. I can't remember off the top of my head, and I don't have it in front of me. It's on my computer. It's the only place I have it right now. It wasn't a lot per ton, but I don't remember. I mean, I can run back. My computer's in the back room. I can go back and check it.
I just wondered.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember. It'll be in the final documentation when we get it, but the price was not unreasonable from what I'm used to seeing.
$40 a ton in place? $30-something a ton in place?
30 tons was put, I think.
I do know that in the course of discussions with the Macklins, that was an issue of concern to them, and the city indicated that they would do what they could to prevent erosion control in that area, so. That's another-
I agree with that. We just said we would do what we could.
How many tons? That's all?
I can look, I can run back and look real quick, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
The quantity and dollar amount were not like jumping out at me as this is too many dollars or too many tons for what I saw back then.
Okay.
When I went and checked it for price, so.
Okay. Bill?
I'll make a motion to approve number 12 at $1,114.80.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The same. Thank you.
Okay, and then we have change order, or not change order, the monthly pay application for an amount of, which includes these two change orders, of $153,899.67
To Fleming?
to Fleming. There's a slight bump for the retainage. I don't know if that usually gets documented with this or not. $518.99 will be added to the retainage.
Why is that? Because...
It's 5%, the contract cost went up, so it's
Okay.
5% of the
Okay.
additional changes. And we're not ready to release retainage yet, so.
Well, if he's turned in his bills, we owe him, and the money's in the...
Yeah, it's, I mean, everything's in order
Yep.
there. It's
Yep.
waiting on, I just got to process paperwork, so that's,
I'll make the motion to approve the pay app for $153,899.67.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay.
and then just kind of an update on the status. They, they had actually requested a little bit more than that as far as seeding and grading, and there's a small bit of area where, because of the river coming up, they've got to come back in, and that didn't take. So we held roughly almost 25% of that amount, and they have, they should be in within the next 2 weeks, I believe, to finish that and reseed all that again in any areas that were missed. And they have to do like final asphalt surface coating, some milling to blend that in, and then the painting of new lines and such. And that should be done the first full week of July, is my understanding, the schedule right now.
Down to the final things, aren't we?
Yeah, it's down to the very end. I also got an estimate, and this is a very rough estimate because I needed to go back the way the change orders got written and stuff. I've got to do some double checking on how the quantities are adding up and make sure they're not adding in twice. But it appears that there are some unused items, unused quantities that will give you a deduct, pretty nice deduct to the total contract in the neighborhood of, I'm estimating about $160,000 more dollars.
Oh, wow.
Off the total. It's not really, it's just work not done, or won't be any. So we're getting down to that. We're anticipating, and provided they get the asphalt and seeding taken care of, weather cooperates and whatnot, I'd anticipate we'll meet and do a final regular payment in July, and then probably walk through once and say everything's good, and then do a change release in August.
Bill, do you have a rough idea then of the bond proceeds, how much after the deduct is factored in we're going to end up still holding?
Right now the contract is 2.9 million, a little over 2.9 million. So it looks like it's probably 2.7 million, 2.75 million. I'm not sure how that compares to the bond. I know it came in under the original estimate that we had put together because of some of the changes where it got moved out of the street and stuff. That helped. Being able to acquire the properties and go down the, behind the lots helped a lot with that part of it. And it came in under the engineer's estimate, and I think we're still well under that by a few $100,000.
Right,
the additional work that we had done.
Okay.
All those items. I have to double check that. And part of that is just trying to balance this whole, what did we put in this change order that included, we added this pipe, but then it's showing in the change order right now what they sent me on these final quantities, but they're going, hey, we added this much pipe, and it's showing up here in the final quantity, and I've got to balance the two of those items out, which I started looking at it, but I want to make sure that the asphalt numbers match before I go through all of it, and if they're done with all of that, we'll finalize that part of it. So,
Okay.
I think otherwise I'm just going to do it twice. It doesn't make a lot of sense to do it twice.
He's not on yet.
Official. Okay.
So, and as far as I understand, flow metering and stuff, that's all going very well.
And can you kind of report on that as far as how we've had a couple good 3 hard rains.
Really actively involved. That's great information, I think, that we're getting. They mentioned that they saw a lot of water. They weren't sure whether to believe how high the flows were, some of them, and we said, believe it.
Yeah. That was the first check, and then they've been out, and I've been running around trying to get all these numbers in a row. I didn't get to follow up with them today, but last I heard about 2 weeks ago, everything was running smoothly, and I think all the equipment was working.
They check every 2 weeks, so good.
Well, and
I think one time they found a set that had shut off once, but it was only 2 weeks, so.
and that was the river gauge, not the flow meter, I think.
Was it?
I think it was the river intrusion gauge. So.
Just that very first rain where we had the one cap pop, or whatever you call it, down there behind the funeral home. And we went back and fixed all those, and since then everything's been pretty good to go, right?
On the new part.
Yeah, on the new part.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but
We're still having discharges through the CSOs?
Well, which one?
the one that's supposed to, or
We do, we have, because we've gotten river water through older structures.
Okay.
We've got a new person down that's going to help us get them fixed.
Good.
But yeah, we've had some of them that were close together. We didn't, you need like 2 days to drain that tank, the million-gallon tank. So if it's full and then we get another downpour, it's going to discharge.
Okay, anything else, Bill?
Nothing for me, unless you have something for me questions for me.
Not at this time, I don't. We have a contract that we have to approve yet, that we have to look over a little closer yet for the post monitoring, is that what it is?
Yes, analysis, model calibration, phase 4 alternatives analysis.
Right.
Right, so I think we'll do that at our July 5th meeting, and go on from there.
I've had a chance to just go through it real quickly, and send it over to me. One thing, Bill, if I read it correctly, it's a lump sum, it's not to exceed, so it's a fixed amount.
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
That, and I mean, that can be...
Did you read his accompanying email, though? He said it can be...
It can be adjusted to a not to, or not on a,
Yeah.
okay, time and material basis or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So...
If you don't have anything else?
No.
Bill, you have anything? I'm good. Thank you, Bill.
I'm gonna say good.
Yep.
Thank you for coming. Let me know if there's anything.
You might look on your computer before you leave, if you can maybe get that number for Craig, just
Yeah,
so we know. Yeah.
I'll go bring that up and check those quantities.
All right.
and
Thank you.
I'll slip in a note or something, come back in.
Okay, thank you.
Get that. Thank you.
Thanks.
You want to do my...
No.
Okay.
Got out of towner here. We'll let him go next, and then you go up next. Ken Dunn from Mobility is back. He's back.
I'm back. And I think I have a good solution here for everybody.
That's what we like to hear. Look that way from the emails that you'd sent anyhow, yeah.
I can look off it. That's all right. I have on mine. Thank you here.
Okay, there's a lot of paper sections. From the top.
Yep. All right. So, based on the request from my original applications for new polls, they requested that we not do new polls and look at co-locate candidates. Other than the one that we had to put there at the police station on the municipal property, and that one is moving along on our end.
Right.
We looked to do co-locate. We found candidates, and we originally thought we were putting them on Indiana, Michigan AEP equipment. When we came and checked in with city staff, they said, actually, we own the light poles. And we said, well, that's fine, then we'll work with you guys. So, we have 2 candidates right now. There's a third one that we should be getting in the near future. They're still doing site selection on our end on that one. But the first candidate is on Bowman Street. Second page, you actually see a photo of what it's actually going to look like. That's the existing street light that you guys have there. And you'll see our equipment sitting on it. The top of that is the antenna.
Don't even have to replace the pole or
It won't even be
anything?
replaced. Well, we'll do a structural analysis on the pole to verify that the pole is still structurally sound.
Right.
If not, then we'll come to you guys and offer to put in a new pole, but it looks like it was in decent shape. So, the antenna on the top, the next thing down, of course, is your overhead light. Below that is our backhaul wireless antenna. Below that is the radio box, and below that is the shutoff valve. And then at the bottom of the pole, based on requirements of AEP, will be the actual electrical meter for electrical use. Unfortunately, in the state of Indiana, because of the state tariff, we can't do a per unit rate. We actually have to have a meter, so it'll be a meter at the base as well. So that's what that one looks like. You'll see on the actual construction documents for it, it's at the corners of Bowman Street, Village Green Drive, right there at the intersection. And you'll see on page on the SP1 of that is actual site layout of where that pole exists, with setbacks, etc.
Contrast.
And then you'll see on EV1 the actual equipment layout that's on there with the antenna at the top. Again, the UE relay, which I referred to, that's our wireless data transmitter. Farther down is is actual radio antenna, and on top of that is a GPS antenna, and that's a global GPS that works with all units, not just for Sprint, who's our carrier. So that's going to enhance GPS service for anybody in the area. The antenna actually kind of broadcasts anything. Then you'll see the disconnect attachment. If any work has ever done that pole as far as the Cobra head, there's an actual plaque at the bottom with a number to call, and you just shut it off with that valve, and then when you're going up there doing work, it's not real high radio frequencies that come out of these antennas, but it's better just to turn it off when work's going on. That's why we have that shut off there. The plaque at the bottom says to do that, and there's actual turn off switch that's there. And then you'll see the actual electric meter is actually on the construction plans.
So that pole, right now, as it sets, is only roughly not even 20 feet tall.
Yep, and with our antenna, we'll be at 23 feet at the top of the antenna. And that'll do it.
It will.
That's where it is, but it'll do it.
Okay.
So that's the first candidate. The rest of that is just all construction details about it if you want to look through it. It actually calls out what the equipment is, how far out of the pole it's sitting, etc. like that.
No, this is production. Jeremy will not be here.
Okay.
But these are AEP poles and not ours.
Oh, those are?
These are AEP poles.
You own them.
Oh, this is our pole. Okay.
These are city-owned poles that AEP has confirmed that you guys as the city own the light poles in the city limits, and then AEP has some level of agreement between you guys and
Hey,
AEP
Kurt.
for the actual Cobra head. That's what I was told, and AEP agrees with that.
Okay.
Yeah, we own our straight line.
Yeah. I just want Kurt to look at it. Look at this. Since these are our poles, Jeremy's not here, and you can maybe...
Actually, I've got this.
Oh, you have them? Okay, all right.
Well, the only question is, if we have to do any kind of maintenance, does it create an issue? What happens, Ken, if the pole needs to be replaced?
Then you contact and we coordinate to take care of that.
Okay. So, if somebody hits it with a car,
That's why there's a 800 number for our information, if there's anything like that, or if any of the equipment on it gets vandalized. That 800 number is manned 24/7. So you just call that number and they'll be able to hook you up with the right people. We have regional crews for doing maintenance work and that kind of thing as far as our equipment. In these situations, you and the pole, you'd maintain the poles, but we'd maintain our equipment. So if there's any vandalism to our equipment, we're probably going to know about it because all of a sudden we're not going to have signal coming out of that antenna. But if we don't and you see something, then just call that number and we'd come right out and take care of it within 24 hours.
is there a chance that stuff could catch on fire?
Well, I guess anything can catch on fire, right? But we're talking about very low electrical. It's low gauge wire and everything like that. The actual electrical use is pretty minimal.
Okay. And I assume that you're insuring your property.
We carry insurance on our equipment.
Do you carry, because you're co-locating on our pole, if there were any negligence on the part of mobility that would result in somebody being harmed, are we protected under your insurance coverage? Can we be named, for example, as an additional insured under your coverage?
Yeah, if you give me the language of what you want that to say, that's not a problem at all. We can get that right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I just need specifics about what you want it to say.
Okay.
That's all.
So if one is not transmitting, you remotely can tell that? Or
Well, there'd be,
I don't mean instantaneous,
Yeah.
but
if there's going to be everything dealing in the cell phone world is tracked to some extent. They don't track that it's you, but they track that you're doing things, right?
Right.
So if there's antenna down, then they're going to notice a weakness
a
in the
gap
network.
somewhere.
And so they quickly analyze, wait, something's wrong.
Right.
And then from there they start figuring it out.
Right. There was a good article in the Journal Gazette editorial page this morning on this very thing about 5G.
Yeah, and this is the build out they'll be moving into 5G and LTE something. I don't know what to call it. LTE Super. Second candidate is on Monroe by the high school across from the football field. You see it on the pole there. Again, this is just a street light pole owned by the city with their Cobra head on it. And same setup as the last one. You'll see on page 2, the actual site plan of it and where that pole exists currently. And then same setup, this pole just happens to be a little bit taller. This pole is a 24-foot tall as it exists today, so our antenna would end up being 27 foot 4 inches to the top of the antenna on this one. You just happen to have a taller pole at that location. Again, when we go out to do it, we'll be doing a structural analysis to verify the pole is good, but they've already done a site inspection and they've had no problems with it, so I think we're already going to be fine in that sense.
And then you're still looking for what, 1 or 2 more?
There's one more. There was a total of 4 that we needed. The one at the police station, these 2, and then there's one more. And I believe they...
North.
Yeah, I believe right. And I believe they have a candidate. They're just waiting to get approval from Sprint on that candidate, and then they'll go out and do the field verify, and once that's done, then I'll get a package just like this for that one. I don't know if that was going to be in a street light pole, if it's on AMP. I don't know what the candidate is at this point.
All right. Well, I appreciate you using the co-location type process rather than coming to us and having to go through the process of installing the taller poles and whatever. I'm a little baffled as to how at one time you're asking for these
75-footers.
Yeah, rather tall poles, and now all of a sudden the 24-footer's sufficient. Yeah, kind of weird. But
Well, and actually we've kind of done away with the 75-footers too, because as they came online, they actually were creating some disturbance between cell towers, and those to some extent is actually too tall. So we aren't even installing 75-footers now that we started putting those online. We're at 50-foot on all of them. 75 was the maximum coverage for the antenna. That's the case anyway now. So that's where Mobility and Sprint wanted to start with all of them. We can do less, and it looks like, as far as with Decatur is concerned, even with the attachments, we're going to get the coverage that we need for the issues that Sprint has within the network with these, and we don't have to do any more than the 4 that are proposed.
So within the city limits of Decatur, at some point in time, we would have this 5G connectivity.
They're going to have 5G nationwide. You guys are going to be a little bit ahead of the curve as far as Sprint, because they come in and put in these small cells.
And then, okay, when you leave town, and you're driving up US 27, then are you going to lose that 5G and you go back to 4? I mean, how's the whole coverage of all this?
Eventually, everything's going to be 5G.
Yeah,
A lot of ground to cover up
the other
there.
stuff's obsolete.
The build out from 3G to 4G was, depending on the network, between like a 5 and 6 year build out nationwide usually, and then they went in and filled gaps. 5G is going to be a little bit of a different beast in some senses, because in an urban setting you really will have to have the small cell technology to be able to handle 5G, because there's such speed necessary. When you get outside the urban centers, the towers will do an adequate job of handling the 5G, is my understanding. But I don't know if in town you'll probably get faster downline speeds than outside town. But that's no different than if you're in a place that has multiple 4G towers compared to where you're just trying to connect with one, and depending on the amount of traffic on any given tower. So that the benefit that these create is that you've got 4 different towers, or 4 different poles in this case, that are handling all of those traffic. So no one pole or one tower is handling all of it like you probably have right now. So that helps increase speeds.
Ken, we deal with a lot of utilities throughout our right-of-ways of the city. And what we've noticed is CenturyLink, Sprint, CenturyLink, AEP, all start getting involved in our community through the Main Street, the Chamber. I mean, I sent you an email. I haven't had any response. Are you guys interested in being part of our community?
The chain, I said, are we able to do that? And I haven't heard back. I will follow up on that. But I'm happy to follow up.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
I sent it up the chain. They said, yeah, let's look into it. And then, well, it's a big company, I guess.
Council members have any other questions? If not, what you're looking for, Tim?
Board of Works, because it's in the city right-of-way.
Right.
It's a Board of Works decision. Ken and Mobility have done what we've requested, and that is to try to find a way to co-locate on existing poles, so we're not going to have a proliferation of poles in our right-of-way. These are certainly well below the heights that were originally suggested, so they're much less intrusive in that respect. What I would suggest, if the board is inclined to approve it, that you approve the location based upon the plans that are submitted, and with the proviso that the city be named on Mobility's insurance as an additional insured as its interest may appear.
And release us from all liability?
That's basically, what it does is it basically says that if there's some type of litigation initiated, we're covered and protected under their insurance carrier.
Okay?
Okay?
And that this will be the 3 sites that they presented so far.
Yep, this will be their third.
Third site,
The one at the police station and these
you're,
two.
you're close to the 4th site, but you're not presenting that tonight.
Correct, no, we're just presenting these to the Board of Works. The BZA approved the one at the police station already, and so we just need these two approved by you guys today, and just on each of the first pages, if I could just get your signatures at the bottom and get a copy of those back to my record keeping.
When they go, like, how soon are they looking at doing this, and then when they do it?
Installation-wise?
Yeah.
It's probably no more than 90 days out for installation of these lights.
And then when they do it, is it like a one-day process, or?
Yeah, pretty much. In fact, I would not be surprised to see these ones actually installed before the one at the police station. When you put in a new pole, the FCC has determined that we have to comply with all tribal, and in the Midwest that means that there's 30 different tribes that claim rights. So that process in its own right takes 60 to 90 days just to get through the tribal, let alone all the other things we have to do. So
Okay.
we don't have to do any of tribal. There's some regulation as far as FCC we have to go through, but all the tribal regulations aren't in the requirement for this one because the pole is already in the ground.
Bill, you good? Any other questions?
Well, I only have the Beaumont Street.
No, that's the second package. You have one with each of them next to the photo sims. And if you don't, you can have these two.
Yeah, there's, and you only need one copy.
I need one copy with your signatures on it for my record
Gotcha.
keeping.
Yeah.
Very good. I didn't dig deep enough.
And Tim, if you just send me the language, you have my email, I believe.
Do you have a card with you? Just give it to me, and then I'll probably do
I'll
some.
write it down. 'Cause I think I don't right now. I think I passed out the last one the other day, and I didn't get more than all I have.
You want me to sign your copies?
Sure.
Bill, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve as presented, so, along with Tim's recommendation
Wording,
as far as
yeah.
insurance. so.
Yep.
And I'll make a comment, like the mayor said, I'm certainly glad that you went in this direction. It's certainly less intrusive, and I hope that you get the service that you want.
Yep. Okay, I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same? Okay, Ken, where do I sign here?
Just sign at the bottom.
Where the authoriser's signature?
Yep.
Do you need my signature also, or?
Sure. Let's just, that way we have both your records on it.
Date it 6/20.
Where did you determine the signs?
Here, Bill, you'll sign the same one I'm signing,
Oh,
or not?
Well,
Yeah,
I'll
fine.
take a copy for the record, and then he can have one.
What's your email address?
Kate, what's done?
Right here.
Sure.
Oh,
There you go, just take that.
okay. Yep. Okay, that's fine.
So, we want to make copies of this before he leaves?
That,
Bill?
or just, didn't he give you two? We'll say
Well,
another one.
Yeah, we can sign a different one. Bill, you want to sign this one, and then that can have our signature on the same one. And then I'll sign this one, and Bill can sign it.
Yeah, only because,
look forward to hearing back from you.
yeah, I will try to push them again. Need 2 more copies?
Do you want me to?
Just,
He's signing.
you sign on the left side over there somewhere, or sign below me or something.
Oh,
You sign right below my name.
Ken.
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, one more to go, and we'll
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm being back with you guys or if we'll find an AEP candidate that works there. So
Okay. Yeah.
I will inform you of where we're doing it either way, though.
Okay.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out which one is which.
It's all the same. Oh, you mean location?
No,
wise?
location.
Monroe Street, Bowman.
Bowman, okay, there you go.
That's too far. Perfect.
And Bill's,
Those are our copies.
Fantastic.
okay.
That works for me.
All set, thank you.
All right, thank you.
There's one for Phyllis.
I got a bunch of stuff for Board of Works. too.
Great.
I do.
That's good. Great. If we have time, we'll get to them. All right, you got them both? Okay, Ann, come on up, Ann. Ann has a couple things tonight. One is she has some prices for rehabbing a primary tank at the plant. And
We did a primary tank last year. We have 3, and we talked it over with Dan. We were going to do 1 a year for 3 years. So this is our second one. I'll give you these 2 more. This primary tank, it wasn't as bad a shape as the first one. The first one was about 30,000 in parts. This is 14, 15. And this is parts only. We're we've been doing a rehab ourselves. And when we need a little help with metal or something, we have Universal Metal Craft help us. This is the manufacturer, Amwell. And their prices didn't change from last year. We ordered parts like this last year, and they were the same this year.
so that $14,020, that's pretty much the same as last year, you're saying?
On these 2 cars.
Yeah, on those 2 parts.
And this is the one that we're pretty much locked in because they are kind of the sole source. Didn't we discuss this up when did the tank provider?
Well, I think there's other parts out there, but
Two
we have to
separate issues.
change
This is-
more parts
this
to
is
get them to
for-
work.
To get 'em,
Yeah.
The
Exactly.
rehabbing of
Okay.
your tank. This one, yeah. Right, Ann, the Amwell is for the primary tank.
Yes.
Yeah. And then that other one is for the pumps.
This is, yeah.
Totally different things. Yeah.
And the reason we don't have 2 quotes is because it's so unique or
Yeah.
specialized that
Right.
you have to use Amwell parts for it.
Right.
And we started with them last year. We want to keep them uniform.
And then the other,
This is the main lift station, dry weather pump. We have 4 at the plant, or at the main. 6 altogether, 2 wet weather and 4 dry weather. Now, I'm pretty sure we replaced 2 dry weather last year. And the second 2 that are quoted, they quit working within 1 month of each other. But they've been repaired multiple times, and they were put in 2009, so we'd like to replace them. We'd have a 5-year prorated warranty on them.
is this the same thing where you're basically
With,
only available in one place?
yes, as far as where the pump fits in at the bottom of the wet well.
I mean, this BBC is the only place that we
Oh,
can get a
it's
price
Fairbanks,
from?
they're the Fairbanks Morris rep for
Okay,
Indiana.
okay.
Hey, Ann, is it the motor that's burned up or is it the pump you got to replace?
The whole thing.
Right, but the motor
The
still runs.
impellers
The
are-
electric motor still runs on the old ones?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because what the rebuild, they looked at the rebuild and they said it'd be 75% of the new price, so.
So we're looking at
Two pumps.
No, we've had
25.
different things fixed on them over the years, Craig,
Okay.
you know, motors and,
Couplers. Lights.
Pretty good price break for two. Price for one pump's $15,860. And the price for two pumps, they discounted down to $29,420 total.
And we need two pumps.
So we need two.
you know. We usually run 3 and then have one spare.
Yeah.
And you got the money?
Yes.
Was that budgeted for this year, or is this?
This is operating fund, it's not when it comes up.
That's right, you don't budget.
Not really.
Well, it's got to be done, right?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
just general maintenance.
Yeah, 'cause
It's expensive general maintenance, but it's just general maintenance.
they're 40 horse.
Keep the
40
city
horse,
running.
that's a pretty good sized motor, and to rebuild and rewind that motor's a pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I'd recommend, after working with these for 28 years, that we do it.
Yeah. Well, let's do it in separate motions, Bill. If you want to make a motion for the pricing for the parts
For the tank?
for the, rehabbing the primary tank
Right.
at $14,020,
I'll make a motion to accept that.
and I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. And then for the second one would be for the two new pumps for the lift station. Price for two pumps at $29,420.
I'll make a motion to accept that quote.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Ann. You want these? Thank you.
I think this is the letter that I sent out to Dean's Food. You were supposed to get a copy and it came back, so I must have had the wrong address.
Really?
They have a post office. Is it P.O. box?
Okay.
I don't remember what it sent to. Okay.
It's a street address, so it's probably why it didn't get delivered.
Yeah, they have a post office.
Okay.
Okay.
But that's your copy. It got sent to...
They did
It got
get it?
sent to Dean's.
Oh, your
This
copy.
is- That's your
okay,
copy.
that's- yeah. I thought you meant...
No, no.
you didn't get it.
No.
Good.
I don't even need to bring this up, this meeting. Good, moving right along.
We gave them a
Did,
what for.
have you heard anything from them?
Yeah, we talked to them.
Okay.
I talked to them, yeah. I talked to Craig, they have that, I mentioned they had a new plant manager, and we'll meet sometime, but I talked to Greg Rowley, he's the head of production, and there hasn't been anything going on since, but
Okay.
I said, you can.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't expect that they'll try, you know.
Okay.
Did you want to talk about that final fire rehab yet? With
AECom?
our construction point where we have the new...
Oh, yeah, if you want to a little bit, you can, yeah. But I'm not ready. I mean, I don't have it.
Oh, you just wanted me to bring it up for, prepare them for next time to have...
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because you're not here to talk about that. We talked about that for the
No.
next meeting, I think.
Oh, you did? Well, I thought you wanted me to bring it up this time
Just to mention it?
that they're
Okay.
coming
Okay.
next time
Well, go ahead
to talk about it.
and fill in the Board of Works here and the council.
We have a final clarifier that it's kind of a weird design. We hate it. The weirs are in the middle of the tank and they're supported, they have support holding the
I would
weir
venture
up.
to say that most people sitting here have no idea what a weir is.
Well, it's a trough, that the water flows over the edge. And,
Separates the liquid from the solid.
yeah. The supports holding this trough out in midair started breaking in 2013. And it's been mentioned on our plant inspection reports from 2013 till 2017. In 2013, there were, I don't know, 7 or 8 of the supports that were broken, and it tilted. So it wasn't, it needs to be leveled to flow correctly. So we had Universal Metalcraft, we drained the tank, they came in, they had to make a custom wire cage to hang the guy over the side of the tank to fix the supports that were broken. Well, it wasn't too long after it was put back in operation, more of them started breaking all the way around. And we just kind of looked at it like, what do we do now? Because we really don't like the design. We figure it's not going to last. So we've been kind of dragging our feet, and the IDEM inspector has been really lenient with this because the tank kind of questionable operation. But we talked to numerous engineers and construction people, and they've all kind of given us opinion. We want a concrete weir on the outside of the tank and get rid of that flimsy metal thing in the middle. And we didn't know price-wise whether it'd be better to just put it back the way it was, or if concrete was out of question, or it'd be cheaper. And we kind of got enough just off-the-cuff opinions that it was probably a wash which way we do it. So then I talked to Luke from American Structure Point, and he brought Dave Moeller from
Structure Point.
Up to look at the tank, and they kind of gave us an opinion, and he brought up that when we talked to the first engineering firms, they had engineering design, bid letting, construction meetings, all this stuff, and we're like, we can't believe this tank is really that complicated. But Dave suggested that we do guaranteed savings, and he explained it to us. Ken was at the meeting, and it really makes sense to us at the plant. It's more a contractor-driven project, and the engineers do the stamped work that's needed, but it's minimal. And then they submit a price quote. We ask for price quotes for this job, but then they call it open book, and if the job comes in under the price quote, we can save the money. We're not locked into that price quote. But they're going to come next week and explain it better.
You did pretty good.
But it's more the construction firm would be running the show, which seems less complicated to me than having
With all the bidding and all that.
meetings and,
Right. When are they coming back?
well, I think that...
At the next meeting?
Yeah.
The July 5th
Yeah.
meeting? Okay. All right.
And we've worked with Dave Moeller before. We really like working with him, so,
Good deal.
okay.
Thank you. Only other thing that I have on the Board of Works meeting is we got this grant money, and we're going to close this alley right half a block down here by Wood Wings and what's the other business? That's on the other side. Home Place. That half block. It'll become a pedestrian alley, and there'll be some artwork done in there, whatever. And in doing so, with checking with the merchants in the area, the only merchant that had an issue with us doing that was Sherwin-Williams. I talked to a truck driver, and he said that with that alley over here being a one-way coming off of East Monroe Street, they should be able to turn in there without any problems. But when the Sherwin-Williams manager shared that with their corporate offices, the corporate office didn't like that idea because a lot of times they're coming from the west going east, and you'd have to go down, turn around maybe in the chamber lot, come back. They didn't like that idea of having to turn in there. They thought that was more of a treacherous turn. I can't believe that based on the fact that they were coming down this alley with this much clearance on both sides. But that was their opinion. And they've come back to me, and what they want to do is, and we haven't contacted the tenant that owns this parking lot, but pass that over there to Bill. And Craig, you can kind of take a look at this one here. And I've already kind of talked to Tim about this, but as you come down 3rd Street going north, just before you get to that parking lot on the right-hand side, there's the parking lot that belongs to the St. Mary's Parish on the left, just before the VFW. And there's 3 entrances into that parking lot, but the middle entrance is real narrow, and what that is actually that's a city easement. Is that the right word? Easement?
It's an alley.
It's an alley, yeah. It's a continuation of that alley that runs by Sherwin-Williams. And Sherwin-Williams has proposed that they turn into the 3rd entrance there, the one closest to the VFW with their semi, and then back into the alley up to their building. And in doing so, they've asked that the last parking space along the alley in each row be eliminated to give them enough room to do this. And on one of the copies that I sent over, I circled 3 parking spaces. And I would prefer to go back to them with a counter proposal and say, hey, we'll eliminate 3 parking spaces, but not all of them. Because I think that once that semi has backed in that far, he should be over and in the alley and away from hitting any cars. But that's just me. That's why I wanted to run it by you guys.
So are they crossing 3rd in reverse?
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to pull into that. I don't know if they'll pull all the way in, or I would have to think so. And first of all, we got to get the okay from the St. Mary's Parish.
And hopefully they say no.
Well, I've heard it from the Sherwin-Williams people that we don't care for them to be downtown, and you know they're giving us maybe we'll just pull out of Decatur, that kind of thing. And I don't want that. I want to work with them.
But this seems awfully convoluted.
Their usual pattern, Ken, is to pull down that alley and back right up to the building,
Yep.
block traffic going to the north on that alley anyway.
Yeah, they have been coming down 1st Street off of Monroe, come down 1st Street and turn over here by the Schaefer building and come up the alley here where they have about this much room on either side, and then cross 2nd and pull into that alley, go on down into the parking lot, and then back up where they need to be.
That was Brad Mart's concern to me, was just sitting, waiting. He said one day he waited 15 minutes before he could
get out and leave.
Yeah,
Right, because that southern parking lot there in the 3rd Street lot is elevated, and there's concrete, you can't get around.
So, I mean, I want to be a good partner with Sherwin-Williams, a good downtown merchant. But as for them making their deliveries or receiving their deliveries, how do we get them to their building? And I thought
they can deliver beer. They park on 3rd Street, don't they? To deliver beer to Two Brothers?
Yeah, they do.
This is a little closer.
But they just throw it in park and leave it in the street and deliver.
So they would be,
Maybe
what,
Sherwin-Williams
coming
get
off
more
of
paint than I
4th Street
realized.
to get into this?
I think they do.
I think they'd be coming off of
Would they be coming off of 4th Street
Monroe,
to get in?
right?
No, they would probably come into town one way or another and
down by
get to
the
Adams
town.
Street, and then
Come down to Adams
and come up 3rd.
and then come up. It seems so much more convoluted than just what you proposed.
Yeah, just like they drew that out on there, I drew it out on one myself and sent to them, and they
Truck
sent it to
driver
corporate.
with your proposal just is in reverse just in front of the building.
Did I send that to you?
Come right at this.
How many different people at the corporate office?
Mhm.
I mean, it was like passed all around our entire corporate office practically, before they finally came back to us with this suggestion. So, and I
You know,
told,
the issue, I mean, even though they are backing across 3rd Street, you know, truckers aren't going to do it unless they've got a pretty clear view of people coming down, so.
Now, you're
I
saying,
I know with school buses, we try to eliminate as many
Oh,
backward
I understand.
as
Movements.
possible. And I don't think a semi-truck was any different.
No.
and that's not an easy back up, because the way the truck driver, I was over there one day with the truck driver who said he could turn in off of Monroe Street, it wouldn't be a problem. Okay?
That would be the easier one.
I agree.
But you're saying they're coming behind the VFW.
No, they're coming down 3rd Street off Adams Street. And when they get to the VFW, they're
And what
gonna...
do they need from the Catholic here?
They want to
Permission to pull in their lot.
Into
pull
their
in
lot.
and then back
Oh,
out.
so they're gonna pull into their lot.
And then
And then
back
back.
across or back down to the
When they're
Sherman-Williams.
asking our church, who are they asking at the church?
Well, I thought maybe our attorney or you could do that.
It's probably got to
Or
be
Tyler.
some of
Or
the
Phyllis.
maintenance committee would have to
oh, man,
approve.
pull a semi into that parking lot.
Well, that's what I
We
said,
packed that
if
parking lot with
it's
cars.
not designed to
We
handle
use every spot.
truck traffic.
Right.
It's well used.
That's another issue too.
I don't know. I would say
Stick to our guns.
Yeah, come off and with the alley going one way east now. I mean west.
I just don't want them backing up on 3rd Street. That's-
I don't think that's why.
I don't know.
Okay. You've answered my questions. I'll reply back to them tomorrow. Maybe I'll re-sketch the alley over there, and,
I mean, I don't have a problem getting rid of a couple parking spaces in there to try to accommodate them if
Right.
it's really...
which is what
you
we
know, I don't
talked about.
want...
Right.
I'm never backing up a semi in my life. I can't imagine that would be an easy task.
Yeah, the truck driver told me that if 3rd Street was one way going south, and you were backing up to where the direction you were backing was on the side you were sitting, he says, that's not a hard backup.
No.
But when you're facing this way and you got to back up over here and you're solely relying on your mirrors only, it's just kind of a pain in the butt. So, I didn't say pain in the butt in the meeting, but I did.
That's okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Because originally, didn't the driver request getting rid of those two up by Sherman-Williams so he can make that turn?
I'm sorry, yeah,
Yeah, I would have no problem with that.
yeah. They probably don't want that because that's probably where they park.
The only place I park when I go get paint, not the walk farther.
What, 3 steps?
That's the parking lot's always full.
Yeah, but if you got 5 gallons of paint,
3 steps is long.
Okay, that's all I have on that. I didn't need any voting or motion or anything like that. I just kind of wanted your opinions, and I'll approach Sherwin-Williams with that. Did we want to talk about that AECom contract, or you want to review that more? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. That's
That's
all I have. Tim, take it away.
Yeah, I've got some other things. First thing is probably ought to make a, well, let me get to the right paperwork here. We talked about that. This is going back to the issue that I brought up towards the end of the last Board of Works meeting regarding a lady that had been bitten by a dog, if you recall. Subsequent to that meeting, we learned that this wasn't the first person that this dog had bitten. It actually had bitten another individual about a month earlier. In talking with Mark Cook, it was pretty apparent that this dog had a propensity to bite. So, and it's a big dog. So we put the owner on notice that we were treating this dog as a dangerous animal under our code, and that harboring that type of animal within the city limits is a public nuisance, and that he had a choice, so either putting the dog down or finding a home outside of the city for the dog. So Mark served this upon him, and I would like to make it a matter of record, the letter that I sent. And if you want, you can see the pictures of this lady's leg that was bitten,
You don't want to see
and
that.
it's pretty gruesome. So, yeah, I think it's something, and I think we need to follow up, probably have Mark verify that the dog is no longer in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
So I'd ask that that be made a matter of record.
So move. Need a second.
Yep, so, I'm sorry. Second it.
All in favor? Aye.
That's not the bad picture.
You got the other leg. Got her on both legs.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That dog was hungry.
The second letter that I would ask to be made a matter of record is the letter that was mailed out to Mr. McWilliams, who's the trustee of the trust that owns the property on the corner of First and Monroe, where we have an illegal sewage connection. And what I did is I offered a way to solve this problem, that explained to him that we're under direction from ITEM to file a plan by August to indicate how this discharge is going to be eliminated and the time frame that the remediation is to be completed. Explained that we would provide a tap at no cost and put in a new lateral to the building, but the owner would be responsible for everything inside the building. And also indicated that if we do that, we're going to hold a lien on the property until he actually does the work and ties into the sewer, at which point then we would release the lien. We have a right to inspect it, and he's got to respond back whether he's willing to go along with this by our next meeting, because we're under the gun to present something to ITEM. If he doesn't want to cooperate, then we're going to file appropriate paperwork with the Board of Health and ITEM, and literally it probably would result in the imposition of daily fines, and we probably would disconnect his existing lateral from our storm water drain to prevent the illegal dumping of raw sewage to continue. If that happened, then his building would be uninhabitable until such time as the connection was properly made. So that's the letter that I sent. So again, I'd ask that that be made a matter of record.
And before we do, I'll mention that Larry Ish just recently talked to this Mr. McWilliams. He's been trying to get a hold of him, and finally Mr. McWilliams returned Larry's call, and Larry's talking to him about whether or not he would be willing to sell it to the city. The guy asked, why we wanted it. Larry explained all that, explained to him about how we can only buy something based on the average of two appraisals, and the guy was actually, he's in California, but he was actually in Pennsylvania when Larry talked to him at a funeral. Said when he gets back to California, he would give Larry a call back and talk. So, there's a chance, an outside chance here, that rather than all this work having to be done, we might be able to put that money towards the purchase of the property. So with that, I'll make the motion to make this matter record.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same? There you go, Phyllis.
Okay, the next matter is, we had a discussion with Mike Pettibone and Jeff Sheets, the mayor and I, regarding Safety Park. They're proposing that they pay a lump sum each year to the city, and then the city would take care of insurance and the utilities. They would maintain the safety buildings themselves, with the city being responsible for maintaining the rest of the property at Worthman Field. Part of the issue that came up is currently the safety park pays utility expenses related to the safety park buildings, as opposed to gas and electricity, and they discovered that at some point the concession stand was tied into their service, and it runs
Air conditioning.
Refrigeration, freezer units, so it probably uses a lot of electricity that they've been paying for. So,
You said about $1,400 a year is what they've been paying.
right, so they're offering to pay $1,000, and then they'd pick up the maintenance on the buildings. And that probably takes into consideration that a good part of their electric bill is probably something that should have been ours all along, or at least the schools. So, in any event, if the board is okay with that, I'll draw up an agreement.
And I think Jeremy was going to attempt to put, because right now there's 2 meters out there, and try to put it on 1 meter, the part that's on the city property. There's 2 meters on the city portion, and then there's one over, or not. It's just 2 meters.
There's 2 meters, but
He was trying to get them combined to one. It would be a cost savings to us if AEP would do that for us. Correct? Or
I
you,
think no.
after you were here, I talked to Jeremy.
No, I think that's where, by combining it, because it's a commercial rate, then they would charge more. Because they would treat it as a commercial.
Okay, good
So
deal.
I think the metering would be left as it is, because that's what they originally talked about doing. They said it would actually cost more. So, I don't know.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah. So anyway, is there any objection from the board on that?
Nope.
Okay. Next thing is I got a letter or a brief email from Brent Arnold. If you recall, out on 100 West, he ran a sewer line so that he could connect his property, but it runs along the road where it was the intent for property owners to tie in that have 100 West.
Grey
and
Goose.
Grey Goose
Area.
out there. So he just wanted to know what needed to be done now that it was installed. So I think we need to verify that Berlin inspected it, he's satisfied with it, and if that's the case, then that needs to be dedicated to the city. I think it has to be in operation for a year before we accept it. But assuming that is the case, then, you know, that becomes ours to maintain. You know, he has the right to recoup his investment by virtue of other homes tying into it. We can't make them do that because that's in the county. So that's going to fall on...
They can make them.
That's going to fall on the shoulders of the county health board to tell these people that they now need to tie in because they have access to a sewer within 300 feet of their property. Whether that will happen or not, we'll see. We're waiting for that to be done on West Monroe Street.
Been waiting.
So, I know a letter was sent out by Adam Miller after the mayor asked about what the status of that was. And the letter basically threatened people with litigation if they didn't connect. To my knowledge, nobody has.
And that was to be done by the end of May.
Yeah.
It's now the 20th of June.
So, I'll talk to Brent and let him know what needs to be done as far as the dedication and when we will accept it. But as far as tying the homes in, that's not something that we have any control over. So I'll make sure that he understands that.
Thank you.
Okay, next thing is received a irrevocable standby letter of credit amendment. This was a letter of credit that was required of the developer of Fairway Lakes for Cross Creek, the section that was recently developed. Now they're proposing a new phase of development. This was required until the road was final coated in the section that was being developed. Typically, the contractor or the developer doesn't put that on while construction trucks are running up and down the road because it damages the asphalt. That was done back in June of 2016, so As of June 26, it will be done for a year. Jeremy has inspected it. He's satisfied with the condition of the road. So this would authorize the bank to release that letter of credit as of June 26. Plan Commission okayed that, so the board needs to approve this, and then Ken can sign it on behalf of the city, and I need to get this back out to Dean Filling. Having said that, this new phase that's going to be developed, construction traffic is probably going to go over these same roads in order to get to this next phase. So in the course of approving the site development plans for this next phase, most likely the Plan Commission is either going to require the developer to enter into an agreement to repair any damage done to the roads that are now ours to maintain, or put up another letter of credit that says if the road is damaged, that it will be repaired. So it's kind of, we're letting go here and we're going to pick it back up here.
It's a good problem, though. It's growing out there.
Anyway, so is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Authorize Ken to sign?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Well, this is really for the council's edification because it's ultimately going to be your decision. North Adams Schools is going to be doing a roughly $33 million project coming up fairly soon. One of the design builders is inquired about whether the city would waive or discount its permit and inspection fees. Apparently under our code, that could be a fairly sizable fee, as much as somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000. But the concern that the city has is that is such a huge project that we may actually have to hire somebody to assist in doing the inspections, because while Kurt certainly is able to, it would literally tie him up and he would not be in a position to try to fulfill his other responsibilities elsewhere within the city. So having said that, we need to look at what cost potentially the city is going to incur. The mayor inquired with other communities about what they have done. Some have said they didn't waive any or discount the fee. Others said that they discounted it a bit because it was a governmental entity. So what will happen is we're going to get some more information from the school itself. That will be considered by the Plan Commission at the July 5th meeting. The Plan Commission will make a recommendation to council, and then council has to make the decision. Okay? So it'll probably come up at your July 5th meeting.
Is that why the county, when they built the hospital,
Yeah,
didn't want to be part of the city then, and then they did later?
I'm not sure what the thinking was, but they controlled that. It wasn't something that the city was involved in or could charge. And that would be true for both the hospital and for the jail.
We don't want it to cost us.
Okay.
Work with them.
The other thing, two other things real quickly, and again, these are probably more matters for the council, but there was Ken sent out an email recently about starting to think about getting the Mark's Heating property out of the utility side and into the city proper side so that it could be used for whatever the city ultimately decides, and how that would be done in terms of compensation back to the utility. If you recall, the utility in the course of the sewer project bought the property, used the back part of it for the sewer project, but didn't necessarily need the front part. So if the city's not going to use the front part where the building is located, then there probably should be some compensation back to the utility, and that needs to be decided upon in terms of what dollar amount you're talking about and the time frame over which that would be repaid. Phyllis, I know, talked to the State Board of Accounts, and there's different ways that you can do it. You can do it in a lump sum. You can do it over a period of time. You literally can not pay anything if you chose to do that, but I think realistically it was anticipated that there would be some compensation back to the utility. So it's just a question of how you're going to structure it. So that's something that we don't need to decide now, but I want you to give it some thought so that you're prepared to address that and make a decision. The last thing is, and this would be, again, something that council would have to take action upon. Craig had been approached by Bobby Corral, I think, about possibly having bikes that are currently in the possession of the police department to be donated to their youth ministry, and then they would turn around and pass those out to kids that are in need of bikes. I've gone through the code. There's nothing specific that gives us any direction whatsoever. I contacted Jody Woods and Rhonda Cook down at AIM. They went through it and they said the same thing. It's probably a home rule question, which means that we have to do it by an ordinance if we're going to do it. But they also cautioned us that we should make sure that we have held on to these bikes for an extended period of time. They recommended at least a year to make certain that anybody that rightfully owns the bike who wanted to come forward and claim it had the opportunity to do so. I think probably what we ought to do is run a legal notice that simply notifies people that there are bikes that have been collected by the police department. If anybody claims a bike, they need to present themselves to the police department and show proof of ownership. Otherwise, failure to do so, these bikes will be considered abandoned and then disposed of as the council has directed. So it's a process that we have to go through, and it can be done. The other issue here, and this is something that Jody and Rhonda and I talked about, is, how do you determine who gets the bikes? Is there, if more than one charitable entity wants it, how do you do that? So that's, again, something that the council probably ought to give some thought to, because that ought to be spelled out in your ordinance if that's the route you're going to go. Okay?
Thank you.
Yep. So that's all I have.
So all these things that council needs to look at, were you wanting us to look at those this evening in the
No,
council?
I'm bringing these issues up more for council to give some thought to, because it's probably coming up in the near future.
Okay.
Greg?
I'm just suggesting that if you want to determine who gets the bikes, if you want to go that route, is on any specific date, just hold a lottery and just throw everybody in a hat and pull somebody out. That'd probably be the easiest way to figure out who gets it for that year or 6 months.
How many bikes do we have right now?
About 50.
I'm going to guess
I'd say 30.
30
Well,
to 40. Yeah.
If there's that many, couldn't we help out more than one agency?
Yeah, Greg,
Some of them are good, some of them are pieces, some of them are junk, some of them are...
yeah. And in the past, were they auctioned off,
Yes.
weren't they? That's what I thought.
They took them.
It was auctioned off and the money went back to junk.
Took them,
And that's the reason, and what Jody and Rhonda shared with me is you want to document this very carefully for the State Board of Accounts.
they've been accumulating.
Okay. I do have one other thing here, and that is that I have a letter of resignation I want to read. I, Nathan Hirely, resign my position as crew leader and operator effective 6/16 of 17. Nate worked for the Public Works Department and was one of our 2 crew leaders and an operator. So I believe Jeremy is advertising for an operator right now. I think he's also advertising for someone for the trash truck, a sanitation job. So, and I've had at least 3 or 4 people email me, call me, text me, wanting to know information. There's plenty of people out there, I think, that wants these jobs. So I don't think he's going to have any problem finding help. So I need to make this a matter of record, Bill.
So move it.
Thank you. Second that. All in favor? Aye.
I have 2 other things.
Sure you do, Tim.
I'm sorry. The city was notified some time ago about a potential claim for sewage backup. Kurt has investigated this and has determined that that the situation in part has come about because somebody failed to install a backup in their floor drain, and then subsequently made improvements without getting a building permit where there were no inspections. There was plumbing done, and that exacerbated the problem. So Curtis prepared a letter. I shared with Sharon that I would suggest that we first send this to our insurance carrier to make sure that they're comfortable with us sending this in response to another insurance company claiming that the city's at fault and liable. So as soon as we hear back from the insurance company, if they are comfortable with this going out, then Kurt can get it sent out. If the insurance company itself wants to respond, then this is information it can utilize in making a response to the other insurance carrier. So,
And what time did that go to the homeowner then too?
this is probably going directly to the insurance carrier.
I had a phone call from them. I didn't call them back. Wanted to know if they said that Kurt had called them and wanted to know if anybody was going to follow up with them, and I just did not call them. I didn't.
I think what I would do is just inform them that this is a matter that's in the hands of the insurance companies.
Have you talked to them again, Kurt?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I have not either.
I had advised her that she would probably be hearing from her insurance.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
if she calls, I think you
Yeah.
can fairly say, look, this is something that's being handled by the insurance companies,
Gotcha.
and,
Yep.
you know, your insurance company will probably get in touch with you. The other thing is, the mayor received notification that because of a change in the law, the city now has the ability, if it chose to impose a wheel tax. It used to be that you had to be a city of at least 10,000 in order to have the ability to do that. The state legislature changed the law, and it now says that a city that has a population greater than 5,000 can do so. But there are steps, procedural steps that you need to take, and that has to be done. There's a form that has to be submitted no later than July 31st, and everything, all the documentation, including an ordinance that's adopted, has to be received by the Bureau of Motor Vehicles by September 1st in order for a tax to be effective January 1. Otherwise, it gets delayed a year. So you don't have a lot of time to consider this, so I'm bringing it up to you now to give some thought to it. If you're inclined to consider that, then we'll start the process.
County wheel tax.
County,
Adams County has a wheel
Adams
tax.
County, but now municipalities have the ability to do it as well. It's just a question whether you feel the need to. So I think we probably ought to talk to Jeremy and see with the other sources of funding, you know, does he feel that he's adequately funded, or does he need more revenue? You know, what this does is it just gets added to your license bureau bill when you go to renew your plates.
At the last, 2 months ago, Mayor's Roundtable, Matt Greller from AIM brought this very topic up to all the mayors, and the first comment out of one mayor's mouth was, you know, why in the world would we need to do this? Why would we need to have a local wheel tax? We already have a county wheel tax. And Matt's reply was, well, we all want money from NDOT. And when you apply for money for funds from NDOT, the first question they're going to have for you are you utilizing all the means of you to raise money for your roads? And so they said NDOT's really going to be pushing for this. Now, that was 2 months ago. Friday, this week, Friday, I'll be at a mayor's roundtable again, and I'm going to pose that question, hey, how many of you have thought about this or are planning on it? I really don't think many will do it.
What percentage back do we get for a city if we were to do that? I know they take a cut of the counties.
Yeah, I think it's based on population, so it's roughly 20% of the total revenues that are collected. I
You
think
get
that's,
20% back to the
you get that much back based on our population compared to... Right. I don't know about what we would collect. It's probably not a huge sum, because I think you're limited on what you can charge, but, you know, again, it's an issue of...
Probably discuss that at the July 5th meeting.
But I'm just
whether or
bringing it
not
up now
that's gonna
because
pull that
you got to
in.
move pretty quickly if you're going to do it.
Okay.
Okay. Bill, do you have anything else? If not, I would look for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same. The Board of Works meeting is adjourned. We'll start the city council meeting in about 2 minutes.